took a job as a night watchman, and I think something lives in the reservoir. I needed the work, plain and simple. Hours were garbage, 11 p.m. to 7 a.m., but the pay was decent, and it was quiet. The job was watching the old Blackwood Reservoir, decommissioned years ago, mostly drained now. Just a huge concrete bowl with a deep section in the middle that still held water. Miles out of town, surrounded by nothing but woods and dark, winding roads. An old pumping station and some maintenance sheds were the only buildings. My predecessor apparently retired suddenly, said he needed a change of pace. First few nights were exactly what I expected, mind-numbingly boring. I'd drive the perimeter road, flashlight beam sweeping across the cracked concrete of the reservoir basin. Walk through the echoing, empty pumping station, the air smelling of damp concrete and old machinery. Check the locks on the sheds, drink lukewarm coffee, listen to the wind in the trees and the distant, almost imperceptible sounds of the night. Peaceful, in a desolate kind of way. Easy money. Then on the fourth night, things started to get off. I was walking along the top edge of the reservoir basin, my boots crunching on the gravel. The night was still, no wind, but I heard a sound from the deep section of the reservoir where the water was. A splash. Not a big one, but definite, like something breaking the surface. I stopped listening. Nothing. Just silence. Okay, probably just a big fish, I told myself. Or maybe a critter fell in. Made sense. The sound didn't repeat. The next night, it was a door. The heavy metal door on the far side of the main pumping station building. I distinctly remembered checking it on my first round, twisting the deadbolt, hearing it click shut. Solidly locked, but on my second round, around 3 a.m., I found it standing open maybe 6 inches. The air coming from inside was cold and carried that damp concrete smell. I stood there for a minute, playing my flashlight beam into the dark interior. Empty. Just shadows and dust motes dancing in the light. I felt a little thread of unease then. Had I forgotten to lock it? Possible, I guess. I was still new, but I was pretty sure I'd checked it. I pulled it shut, heard the solid thud as it met the frame, twisted the lock again, felt the mechanism engage. Yep, definitely locked now. The following night, the sounds from the water were back, more frequent. Not just splashes now, but a low, rhythmic lapping sound, even though there was no wind, and sometimes a strange gurgling, like water moving through pipes, but the pumps were shut down years ago. It seemed to come from the very center of the deep section, from the black, still water. I'd stand at the edge, aiming my powerful flashlight beam out over the surface, but the light just seemed to die a few feet in. No reflections, no ripples, just a vast black mirror. And the doors kept getting found open. Not just the one on the pumping station. A couple of the smaller sheds now too. Always locked on my first patrol. Always found open later in the night. It wasn't vandalism. Nothing was ever taken. Nothing disturbed inside the buildings. It was just the doors, found open. My easy money job was starting to get under my skin. The isolation that had felt peaceful now felt exposed. The vast, empty reservoir basin felt less like an empty space and more like a stage, and the dark water in the middle felt like an eye. I started spending less time walking the perimeter of the basin, sticking closer to the buildings, keeping them between me and the water. But the feeling of being watched was getting stronger. It wasn't just from the water. It felt like it came from the dark woods surrounding the reservoir, from the deep shadows just beyond the reach of my flashlight beam. I'd whip my light towards the tree line, expecting to see eyes reflecting back, but there was never anything. just the silent, impenetrable wall of trees. One night, I found something new. I was checking the main vehicle access gate, miles down the road from the reservoir itself. It was chained and padlocked, just like I'd left it. But on the dusty ground, just inside the gate, where no vehicle could have entered, were tracks, not boot prints, not animal paws I recognized. They were large, heavy-looking impressions, but indistinct, like something with weight had pressed into the dust, but without clear foot shape. They led from the direction of the reservoir, stopped just inside the gate, and then seemed to vanish. That night, the sounds from the water were the worst yet. Louder, more complex, not just gurgling, but what sounded like distorted, echoing calls. Almost like voices, but slow, drawn out, not human. They seemed to rise from the black heart of the reservoir, echoing off the concrete walls of the basin. I stood frozen by the edge of the pumping station, listening, my breath held tight in my chest. The sounds felt like they were searching, or calling out. The fear was a cold, hard knot in my stomach now. Rationalization was gone. This wasn't wind or animals or old buildings settling. This was something else. Something that was in the reservoir. Something that opened doors. Something that left strange tracks. I had hours left in my shift. I had to finish my rounds. The thought of walking back out into the darkness, of going past the edge of the water, of checking those doors again. It made my skin crawl. Every muscle screamed at me to get in the truck, lock the doors, and wait for dawn. But the job had to be done. I forced myself to move, flashlight beam, cutting a shaky path through the dark. I kept my eyes fixed on the ground in front of me, avoiding looking toward the water. Every creak of the old buildings as I checked the doors sounded like a footstep behind me. Every distant hoot of an owl seemed to twist into a mocking echo of the sounds from the reservoir. I found the door on the far side of the pumping station open again, wider this time. It looked like it had been pulled outward with force, scraping against the concrete. I didn't go inside, just stood there, my flashlight beam shaking, listening to the absolute silence that now seemed to emanate from the open doorway. The sounds from the reservoir had stopped. I finished the rest of the shift on autopilot, a raw, trembling ball of fear and adrenaline. I checked the remaining doors, but I didn't get close, just shine my light on them from a distance. The sun finally began to paint the sky grey as I drove out, the reservoir receding in my rearview mirror. A vast, silent, concrete scar in the landscape. I still work the job. I need the money. But it's different now. The boredom is gone, replaced by a constant, low-grade dread. I don't walk the edge of the basin anymore. I don't check all the doors every round. I just drive the perimeter road, my eyes scanning the tree line and the black, still water in the center. And I listen, always listening, for the sound of a splash when there's no wind, for the faint gurgling from the deep water, for the whisper carried on the night air. I know something is there, living in the reservoir, and I don't know what it is or what it wants, but I know it's waiting in the dark. This has been another tale from the Deadwood, where the shadows never sleep and the stories never truly end. If you enjoyed the journey into darkness, like, subscribe, and hit the bell icon, so you never miss what lurks beyond. Until next time, keep your lanterns lit. You'll need them.